Chapter 3: The Feast of Revelations, the Grand Procession. The turkeys strutted down the path toward the village, heads held high, and feathers puffed out in what they thought was regal fashion. Chief Plumes led the flock, each step slow and deliberate, his eyes half closed as if he were in a trance. Behind him, Gobbleweed and Riffletail swayed along, each turkey trying to keep their movements chill and enlightened, in hopes of impressing the humans with their cosmic vibe. "All right, flock," Chief Plumes murmured in a low, reverent tone. "This is it. The humans are going to see us and realize we're not just regular birds. We're spiritual warriors, you know." "Hell yeah, Chief," Gobbleweed muttered, his eyes wide and glazed as he focused on keeping his balance. "They're going to be blown away by our effing presence, man. We're like royalty or some shit." The turkeys shuffled forward, each step taking them closer to the village, their eyes fixed ahead in a mix of awe and what they thought was calm, noble resolve. In reality, they looked like a stumbling, slightly wobbly procession of birds with dazed expressions, each one muttering bits of profound wisdom under their breath. As they approached the outskirts, Chief Plumes took a deep breath and turned back to his flock. "All right, turkeys, remember, no fear, no flapping, no freaking out. Just walk up like we own the damn place. We're here to be, honored." Riffletail nodded, trying to straighten his feathers. "Yeah, man, we're bringing them turkey enlightenment. They're not even ready for the kind of shit we're about to lay down." Just as they reached the edge of the clearing, they saw it. Tables covered in food, with platters piled high, steaming pots, and rows of chairs set up for what could only be a grand feast. The humans were bustling around, setting plates, carrying baskets, and turning over roasting spits, oblivious to the procession of sage turkeys making their way to the clearing. Gobbleweed's eyes went wide as he took in the spread. "Dudes, they've prepared this for us. They're celebrating us. This is our effing destiny." The turkeys lined up at the edge of the feast area, each one convinced that they were about to be honored guests. Chief Plumes lifted his head and took a step forward, raising his wings in a grand gesture. "Humans," he squawked, his voice ringing out in what he thought was dignified authority. "We are here to share in this great feast." But as the words left his beak, something shifted in the humans' demeanor. The settlers turned, one by one, squinting at the line of dazed turkeys now lined up along the edge of their gathering. A man carrying a basket of potatoes dropped it, and the young settler who had joked about the turkeys being stoned let out a laugh. "Well, I'll be damned," he chuckled. "Look at 'em. They've come right up to the table, bold as anything." Another settler shook his head, a grin spreading across his face. "I told you they're probably high as hell off our hemp. They look like they're about to start preaching or something." The rest of the settlers joined in, some laughing, others muttering about the crazy birds. But Governor Bradford stepped forward, his face hardening as he looked at the turkeys lined up before him. "Well, high or not, these pests have been tearing up our fields and trampling through our crops. This may be just the opportunity we've been waiting for." Chief Plumes, oblivious to the tone in the governor's voice, nodded proudly. "Yes, humans, we have come to join in your feast, to show you that we are your equals in spirit. We are here to bring you turkey wisdom." Gobbleweed, nodding along, added, "Yeah, dudes, we're here to bless this meal with our vibes." The settlers exchanged incredulous looks, some still chuckling. Governor Bradford, however, raised a hand to silence them. "All right then, you wise birds," he said with a smirk. "We've got a special place set just for you." He gestured to a large roasting spit nearby, where the turkeys had thought they saw an honorary seat. Chief Plumes blinked, tilting his head as he looked at the setup. "Whoa, they're gonna, elevate us, man," he whispered, awed. "They're gonna put us at the center of the feast." Riffletail's eyes grew wide as he gazed at the roasting spits and pots. "Holy shit, Chief, we're legends." With a wave of his hand, Governor Bradford signaled to a few of the settlers, who moved forward with ropes and bags, grins spreading across their faces as they approached the dazed flock. But just as the settlers moved closer, the realization started to dawn on Chief Plumes. Wait a sec, this doesn't feel like the vibe I was expecting." Gobbleweed too began to shift nervously, glancing at the ropes and bags. Chief, I don't think they're planning to, honor us, man. As the settlers reached for them, the turkeys snapped out of their daze, feathers flying as they screeched and scattered, flapping wildly in every direction. Their grand procession collapsing into chaotic panic. Run, you feathered fools, Chief Plumes squawked, diving into the bushes, his cosmic visions of turkey greatness shattered in an instant. Panic and the great escape. The settlers lunged forward, ropes and bags in hand, eyes gleaming with the prospect of finally catching their pests that had been ravaging their fields. But the turkeys, fueled by a mixture of paranoia, panic, and just enough lingering hemp haze, exploded into chaos. Holy shit, they're after us, Gobbleweed screeched, his wings flapping so hard he nearly toppled over. This isn't a feast, it's a effing trap. Chief Plumes, his grand visions now shattered, squawked wildly as he scrambled in circles, feathers flying. Every turkey for himself. They're not honoring us. They're planning to roast our damn asses. Riffletail, wide-eyed and stumbling, turned back toward the village square, only to see two settlers closing in. They've got effing ropes, man. They're trying to take us down. With one last panicked look at each other, the flock bolted in every direction, abandoning all pretense of their dignified procession. Their feathers fluffed out in sheer terror as they squawked and scattered, each one convinced they were seconds from being snagged. Gobbleweed, desperately trying to find a hiding spot, launched himself under a nearby table, only to screech as a settler leaned down to grab him. "Oh, hell no," he squawked, scrambling backward and slipping through the man's hands. "Ain't nobody cooking my drumsticks today." Chief Plumes, seeing Gobbleweed's close call, bolted for a stack of barrels, squeezing behind them and muttering, "So much for cosmic wisdom. I'm out of here." The settlers, now laughing and yelling, darted after the flock, their ropes swinging as they tried to corner the panicked birds. Riffletail, who had managed to evade capture so far, stumbled into Chief Plumes behind the barrels, eyes wide with fear. "Chief, what the hell was that?" Riffletail gasped, panting. "They don't want enlightenment, they want us for dinner." "Yeah, well, we're not sticking around to find out what spices they use," Chief Plumes replied, his voice laced with panic. "Time to haul ass." Just as he spoke, two settlers came around the side of the barrels. With a panicked squawk, Chief Plumes launched himself over the top, Riffletail flapping clumsily after him. They burst out into the open, wings flailing as they bolted toward the tree line. The other turkeys, seeing their leaders make a break for it, took off as well, their previous stealth tactics replaced by full-blown chaos. Feathers flew as they squawked and zigzagged, running circles around each other in a desperate scramble to escape. Gobbleweed, sprinting with everything he had, glanced over his shoulder at the settlers still in pursuit. "They're on our asses. Move it, dudes." The flock made one final, frenzied push toward the safety of the forest, the settlers' shouts fading behind them as they finally broke free of the clearing. Once they were deep into the trees, the turkeys collapsed in a pile, panting and wide-eyed, each one coated in a fresh layer of dirt and leaves. Chief Plumes, catching his breath, looked around at his flock. "All right, let's agree never to try and enlighten the humans again," he panted. "That shit was way too close," Gobbleweed nodded, still wide-eyed. "No more cosmic turkey wisdom. From now on, we stick to the damn forest." The turkeys sat in silence for a moment, their dreams of grandeur and enlightenment thoroughly squashed. But as they sat there, each one still trembling from the ordeal, they couldn't help but laugh, a wheezy, relieved laughter that echoed through the trees. And with that, the flock limped back into the safety of the forest, vowing to steer clear of scarecrows, hemp fields, and any great feasts, for as long as they lived. Aftermath and reflection. The turkeys huddled together in a peaceful clearing, still catching their breath from the chaotic escape. Chief Plumes looked around at his flock, a mix of relief and exhaustion on his face. "All right, flock," he said. "We've learned our lesson. We stick to the forest, avoid the humans, and leave that hemp field behind." Gobbleweed stretched out on the ground, still grinning. "Yeah, man, but that was some good stuff. No harm in going back, right?" Riffletail, eyes still darting nervously, sighed. No more trips, Gobbleweed. Let's just rest and enjoy some quiet. For now, the flock settled into a calm silence, realizing the thrill was over. They didn't need the field or the chaos. They had each other, and that was enough. Epilogue. A lesson not quite learned. It wasn't long after their near miss with the settlers that the turkeys found themselves longing for the taste of those forbidden hemp leaves. They tried to settle back into the simple turkey life, pecking at bugs, scratching in the dirt, and roosting high in the trees, but something felt lacking. The field called to them, a temptation too great to ignore. Maybe it was the thrill of outsmarting the humans, the lure of the lush leaves and flowering heads, or simply the camaraderie that came with each shared mission. Whatever it was, the flock found themselves talking about it more and more. Every leaf, every whisper of wind seemed to remind them of the lush field they'd left behind. Chief Plumes, as much as he wanted to embrace a quiet life, couldn't deny the allure. "All right," he murmured one night, looking around at his flock. "One more raid, then we're back to being regular turkeys. We'll grab some leaves, stay low, and be in and out before they even know we're there." "Hell yeah," Gobbleweed cheered. "Just a little snack, no big deal. We're like pros at this by now." Riffletail, grinning, added, "Yeah, Chief, what's the worst that could happen? We've got this down." And so, what started as one last raid turned into another, and another, each one more daring than the last. The thrill of the hemp heist became a nightly tradition, their journeys to the field evolving from stealthy raids to well-coordinated expeditions. They learned to navigate the traps, skirt around the scarecrows, and evade the occasional settler patrol with a mix of cunning and confidence. The flock grew more adept with each trip, slipping into the field under cover of night, filling up on leaves and flowering heads, and retreating triumphantly back to the forest. They'd settle in after each raid, feathers ruffled and beaks full, sharing stories of close calls and clever escapes. The humans, meanwhile, were in a state of growing exasperation. Each morning, they'd find feathers and tracks scattered across the field, and every new defense, fences, traps, extra scarecrows, seemed to be no match for the hemp heist turkeys. Gobbleweed, resting under the shade of a tree after yet another successful raid, sighed with satisfaction. "See, told ya, we're freaking legends, man. Humans think they can stop us, but we're too damn smart." Chief Plumes chuckled, adjusting a feather as he looked around at his flock with pride. "Yep, they keep trying, and we keep winning. I'd say we've earned our right to that field." Riffletail grinned, stretching his wings lazily. "So, Chief, what's the plan for the next raid? I hear they've put up some fancy new traps." "Oh, don't worry," Chief Plumes replied with a smirk. "We'll find a way around it, just like always." And so the hemp heist turkeys prepared for yet another expedition, each one convinced they'd outsmarted the humans once again. Their nightly raids became a staple of their lives, a tradition of mischief, daring, and above all, resilience. They'd learned a lesson, but perhaps not the one the humans intended. For these turkeys, a lesson not quite learned meant one thing: the thrill of getting away with it, one raid at a time.